I was wondering why it froze, and it's because I put my HDMI instead of it. Anyways, I okay. Last night, let me do this because I want to get through this interview, this uh, review quick because I need to review two movies. Last night we watched Inside Out. A modern classic is what this is. You know, like you can go into this movie not knowing any of the voice actors and still love the movie. You know, like I went into Toy Story knowing Tom Hanks voiced, yeah, and Woody, and Tim Allen voiced Buzz, and I went into you would go into Cars knowing it's Owen Wilson. You go in Kung Fu Panda knowing it's Jack Black. You would go into Lightyear knowing it's Chris Evans, so on and so forth. However, for this one, the voices may sound familiar, but you don't really care until later on. I had no idea Joy was Amy Poehler. I had no idea Disgust was Mindy Kaling. Kind of makes sense because I fucking hate her. I could tell the voice of Sadness was Phyllis from The Office. I could easily tell that. But like, it's a modern classic. Sure, I'm quite excited for a sequel for it to come out, but I think it's a good for a by itself movie, like how A Bug's Life was, and how Monsters Inc. works as a standalone movie. Like, the only way for a sequel to work is to like introduce new emotions that you grow up when you're older. You know, like especially with your puberty emotions going into like the idea of like love and like horniness type shit, like more adult oriented type shit. But then you realize we saw adults in this movie with their emotions. There was nothing there. There was no horny meter. There was no love meter. Maybe there was, but to be fair, they're not really emotions. I mean, there could be one, but I'd, I really appreciate the movie of how like it got to the point where Riley didn't listen to what the emotions said. You know, like if your body wants you to be happy, and if like the person who like if there was a being that was happy or slash joy in your own and you fight it, and they're like, what the fuck? It's like a machine running or a car driving by itself. You know, it's like what? So it's like it was like cool, and I understand teenagehood may be like that. Like you do things you don't think you would normally do, like teen angst. It just happens. I still don't know why like teenage angst happens. I don't think anyone knows why. Like sure, it's a bit like hormone imbalance type of shit, but like why do we get why do people get so angry and frustrated so quickly without realizing they're getting that frustrated? I don't know. But I do like the idea of Bing Bong. We saw Bing Bong first when she drew him on the wall in the house. Then when we found Bing Bong going through all these long-term memories, she was so excited to meet him, you know, meeting an imaginary friend. And since they're emotions, they know who Bing Bong is. They see him, you know? Like, I were to have imaginary beings and friends or whatever, but I don't see color when I see, or a shape of an animal when I see an imaginary being. If I see an imaginary being, I think of an actor, you know? Because my mind's not that creative to, like, do a half cat, half dolphin, half elephant being. But that sad moment at the end where Bing Bong realizes it's too much weight and he's disappearing too much, so he pushes himself off while Joey is still flying up. That's a pretty heavy scene, you know? You go throughout the movie actually pretty liking Bing Bong, and he just disappears. He gets to be in the forgotten memories. Which is weird, because memories some like sure you may forget them, but you will remember them. Still, sure. Like the ones when you're like a toddler, you will forget, of course. However, you can still remember things here and there. And it's weird how in this movie the memories are viewed from like a camera angle and not her point of view, which is exactly how I can remember some memories, which is a little bit weird because I remember them through like um through the VHS type systems that we recorded the videos on. But yeah, it's a very easygoing movie. However, it's unlike A Bug's Life or even no, I think A Bug's Life is one of them. Every single Pixar movie I've seen has some emotional weight to it. So even if you're a young kid, you'll feel emotional watching, like how you do with Up, with Mally dying at the beginning. Like, uh, like throughout this one, like she becomes so sad when she runs away to try to go back to Minnesota. In Incredibles, you see like, holy shit, these superheroes are getting murdered, and then in fucking Monsters Inc. this shit happens, and in Toy Story, a toy has a mental fucking breakdown. Like, why am I here if I can't fly or reach Star Command or do anything? Like, it's pretty emotionally heavy. I think all four Toy Story movies have some emotional weight to it. Anyways, this one is no different, you know? Like, it's emotionally heavy, this movie. I gotta say that. It's like, it's heavy. Like, if you go in it thinking you're gonna enjoy yourself, I mean, sure, you will, but like you shouldn't go into it thinking it's going to be a joyful, happy going movie. Every single Pixar movie I've seen, besides Monsters University, not even Bugs Life, has like makes you feel so sad or like upset or like feel something, you know? Like it's so weird. And like Pixar does a very good job in it. And I haven't watched the latest Pixar movies. I haven't checked out Soul. Apparently that's very good. And some of these other movies like Onward, blah blah blah, Trolls. But like I'm not really interested in them because they're like, sure, movies are like targeted for kids, like Inside Out, Bugs Life, Monsters Inc. and shit. However, it's come to this weird oversaturation nowadays that the movies who are for kids are only good for kids. You know, I probably can't watch Trolls with a straight face and like just listen to Anna Kendrick be like that for a fucking hour and a half. You know, I probably can't do that. But if I was a younger kid, maybe I could, and maybe watch it later on in life and still enjoy it. But that's not what happens with these ones. I'm not watching them because of nostalgia values. I'm watching them because I know they're good movies, and I want to watch them. And that's no different to this. I remember, I haven't watched this movie in its entirety. I've watched like maybe the ending, maybe the middle section, but I've never watched the entirety of the movie. I know what happened. I know that Riley gets very upset. I knew there was other emotions in the other people. I know Bing Bong died because I remember people. I think my cousins saw it in cinemas, and my mum really wanted to see it. And it was good, so she bought the DVD and watched it. And I remember walking downstairs and seeing Bing Bong die. It's like, oh, what the fuck? The character dies. Well, there is a sequel coming, and I don't think it needs a sequel. But if it does have a sequel, they need to introduce more emotions, you know? Because when you get older and older, like, I don't know. Anyways, that's my review of Inside Out. And Inside Out is a solid movie. It's a solid 7.5 near 8 out of 10 movies. It's such a good movie. Sure, like, if you actually go in knowing who the voice actors are, you kind of, like, get cringe here and there. Kind of like how when I watched Finding Nemo and Dory, where, like, whenever Dory spoke, like, I pictured Alan, and I fucking hate Alan. He's a shit human being. But like, if I knew it was Amy Poehler and if I knew it was Mindy Kaling, I wouldn't have cared about the characters. Like, I immediately understood Phyllis was sadness. I understood that. But like, Joy and Disgust, I didn't know their voice actors. And that's how you make or break a movie, you know? Like if you watch the Mario Bros. Movie not knowing that it's Chris Pratt and liking the movie, but you hate Chris Pratt, then you find out it's Chris Pratt, you look at the movie a little bit different. But I like Chris Pratt. I don't fucking care as a Christian. I need to go to a church. Like, you know. But yeah, that's Inside Out. Now on to the big movie, which I've been talking about to myself ever since we got out of the cinema about nearly 2 hours ago. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, the brand new MCU movie, kicks off the Phase 5 movie. It has been very, very hyped. Like, I remember when there was announced Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, and I was like, holy shit, this is gonna be fucking amazing. It's gonna be in the quantum realm. We're gonna explore the quantum realm. We're gonna see Kang there. MODOK's gonna be there. Blah blah blah. Some other characters are gonna be there. But it kind of falls short in like since the movie's meant to be Ant-Man and the Wasp, he tries to focus on Ant-Man as a main character, which makes sense. It's his Ant-Man 3. It's not Ant-Man and the Wasp 2, it's Ant-Man 3. It's the end of his trilogy. We may get another Ant-Man and the Wasp to have 3 Ant-Man and the Wasp movies, but then again, it would be a little bit confusing. But it was more of Ant-Man Scott Lang and the Wasp Janet Van Dyne as opposed to Hope Van Dyne, who's the Wasp that's been seen in the MCU since the first Ant-Man movie. And like, I like Janet Van Dyne. I like Michelle Pfeiffer's portrayal of Janet Van Dyne, an older version of her. Same with Michael Douglas's Hank Pym. Love seeing them, but it's quite weird knowing that the beginning and ending of this movie are basically identical. Like, the shots are the same, and the only scenes you see in the real world at the beginning of the movie, you basically see in the trailer. And like, sure, it's cool, the entire movie's in the quantum realm, but sure, it's fucking cool. I enjoyed the movie, and it's way better than a lot of people say. It's not worse than Love and Thunder. It's not the worst MCU movie. I enjoyed it thoroughly. I enjoyed it more than Ant-Man and the Wasp when I first watched that. It's like on par with the first Ant-Man movie. Sure, Michael Penn is not in it, blah blah blah. And sure, the end credit scenes make up for the maybe lacklusterness people have felt like. Even the end credit scene, which I won't spoil, which is pretty crazy. Mum said, alright, that's the best part of the movie. I just gotta say, like, it tried to do so much within 2 hours. Like, I honestly think if you've given it not even an extra 35 minutes to properly give like a minute or 2 or 3 extra on character development for these side characters we're meant to care for, I think it would have been well received. I honestly think if it was a 2.5 hour movie, as opposed to, because like, honest to God, you need to have groundbreaking movies be groundbreaking. Quantumania was meant to properly kickstart the multiverse, like Kang multiverse issue, which leads directly to Loki season 2, which directly leads into Kang Dynasty. That's the slope of Kang throughout Phase 5. Sure, we'll hear multiverse shit maybe in the Marvels, maybe in Guardians 3, maybe in Blade, maybe in Thunderbolts. Who knows? But when I got home from this watching the movie, and when I was going to the bathroom, sure, I was thinking about the movie, but I was just looking up like the reviews from Chainsaw Reacts and Moist Critical, as opposed to how like I didn't do that until like the day after, maybe, or a couple hours afterwards, for like Shang-Chi and No Way Home and that. Like, I would started streaming immediately, just talking about it. And it's the weird thing here is that like sure, it happened here and there with Avatar: The Way of Water, where like you forget you watched that movie today, but it's almost like when I lay down in bed on my phone, it was just like I forgot that movie, and that's what I think it's maybe critically bad. It's because like it does a lot of things that are forgettable, but those things that are forgettable are groundbreaking things. Establishing that there's these characters in the quantum realm, that there's this juice you drink that can understand fucking every language in the quantum realm, that they all speak English or whatever. Um, like those are legit groundbreaking things. And it kind of glosses over them. Like we meet this slug character who's interested in holes. We meet a Modoc being. We meet this resistance thing. It's kind of like a Star Wars type thing. Not gonna lie, but it's just really unfortunate how people are expecting this to be like the MCU return back to form after a couple Phase 4 being lackluster. I can understand like Phase 4 being bad amongst the rest of Phase 1, 2, and 3. Phase 3 is almost perfect. Get rid of Captain Marvel. That's a perfect fucking thing. But then again, when you look back at Phase 4, Shang-Chi was a really solid movie. No Way Home was fucking amazing. And if you don't think too much of like all the cameos, Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness was pretty cool. And even Wakanda Forever was pretty cool, even though I didn't really like it. Same thing happens here. People were expecting Infinity War, but I went in expecting Ant-Man, you know? Like, it's like how Endgame was Ant-Man with Thanos, but Ant-Man with Kang, and it's the same type of feeling. It's crazy, however, he does jokes here and there, you know? Even in the Endgame battle, he was like, does someone have orange slices or some shit, like how he did in Civil War, and it was a callback to Civil War. Same thing happened in here when Cassie became big. Sure, I don't really like how Catherine Newton just took over someone else's character. It's like Tom Holland being... Like, if they didn't do Spider-Man in Civil War but introduced Peter Parker, it's like having only Peter Parker in Civil War with Tom Holland, but in Spider-Man Homecoming having a completely different actor. It's like, what? Everyone thought Tom Holland was going to be Spider-Man. But, and it's weird, like, when my brother was talking about how we're not going into this movie to see, we're going to see this movie, this next movie. We're going into this movie to see what happened, what it's leading into. Sure, that's what happened with Thor Ragnarok leading into Infinity War and yada yada yada. But it was a movie, then it did that. Not the entire movie was the basis of that. That's why I kind of didn't really like Fallen Kingdom all that much. Jurassic World, I should say. But it's still a solid movie, and it was weird because when I was even in the car, I was thinking about Quantum Mania. My brain couldn't really wrap my head around that this movie is in the same world and universe as the Battle of New York. It just does the two different things completely. Like, no interaction between the two, but we know they intersect. Because we know Scott Lang was in the Battle of New York in Endgame. But, and also I want to bring up the question, has this exiled Kang always been in the quantum realm with Janet Van Dyne? Or has this Kang only went there after He Remains got killed by Sylvie, so a Kang can, because they know how to time travel and multiverse jump, so go back in time, then whilst going back in time, he were to have crashed. So is that how, like, it would have changed? Like, they need to explain that somehow. Like, was Kang always in the quantum realm with Janet, or was that a new thing after the breaking of the timeline? Which is what you would think would happen, but they don't explain it like that. Because it's still such a steady slope. We don't see that things breaking. It should be breaking by this point. If this movie is set right after Loki, you should hear the breaking point. You know, we heard it in No Way Home when fucking they breached in. We heard it in Doctor Strange. You know, but we don't hear it here. At the end of the movie, I legitimately thought something was going to happen at the end of the movie right after they went back to their lives. I thought, like, he was going to get sucked down back into the quantum realm, or I thought he was going to be, like, chosen by, like, a Wong or someone to be like, what did you fucking do type thing, you know? Or even seeing Loki appear, blah, blah, blah. But then again, Loki's trapped in the TVA. Yeah. Quantumania. It's at the end of the day, it's a very solid movie. It's a good standalone movie. However, you need to know who the fuck these characters are. And it's weird to know because the character that's introduced, the main one that's introduced in this one, still isn't really introduced. Like sure, the only good version of him was in Loki season 1. However, it's almost like we needed to know who this big bad was before going into it. Like how we knew who Loki was before the first Avengers movie. However, a lot of people went into Age of Ultron not knowing who the fuck Ultron was. Some people went into Thanos not knowing who this guy was, you know? I remember talking about Thanos throughout like 2015 and 16 when we had the cameos in Guardians and Age of Ultron, and people were like, who the fuck is Thanos? And now it makes sense, Thanos being brought in and establishing the character arc of how it begins in Infinity War and ends at the beginning of Endgame. That version of Thanos, which I think is the quintessential Thanos in the MCU. But now, like, it's almost like they're introducing this Kang dynasty far too early, you know? Sure, they could have referenced the Kang dynasty as a whole by just having one Kang be there on the throne saying, someone shouting out, the exiled one has been killed, and then slowly gets up from his throne and be like, but not from one of us. And that's how it would lead into Kang dynasty, because those who kill a version of Kang, the versions of Kang go after them, no matter how good or bad of an ally the Kang is to the other Kangs. But yeah. So there's some references to other movies like Back to the Future 2 with that fucking the massive pizza scene, but and sure, I don't really like Darren Cross as MODOK. However, it makes sense because we don't see Darren Cross dying. We just see him going small. But then when we find out the end of Ant-Man and the Wasp, he can go subatomic, where it goes into the quantum realm, which he can time travel in. Yeah. Like I feel satisfied with this movie. Like I didn't go out of it saying there should have been more. Like how I thought with Doctor Strange and maybe even Love and Thunder. But I enjoyed this movie. Solid entry in the MCU, not groundbreaking. Like people want every single movie to be as good as every single movie was in the past. I don't think we're ever going to get as good as as good as the Winter Soldier and Civil War and Infinity War. It's weird because those three movies are directed by the same people. But like I really want some of these MCU outings to be fucking amazing. Like I want the rest of the Phase 5 movies to be epic. I honestly think Guardians 3 will be amazing. I really hope Blade is good. I really hope Thunderbolt actually surprises me. And I hope I enjoyed Marvels because I don't care about Carol Danvers in the MCU. Her Miss Marvel in the comics and the TV shows is amazing, but her as Captain Marvel in the movies I don't like. Miss Marvel from the TV show, enjoyable character, but not good enough to be in a full-fledged movie yet. And the only character in the Marvels movie that I'm excited for is Monica Rambeau from WandaVision, who develops powers from being in the void for some reason. And apparently Nova's going to be in the movie, and hopefully he steals the thunder from the Marvels. But I'm excited to what it brings. Anyways, I'm gonna plug into my little moist me. I'm gonna say I agree with the ratings. 6.5 to 7 out of 10. It's in between that range. It's not a groundbreaking MCU movie. It's not as good as the first one. I think it's better than the second one because I did not fucking like Ghost as a character. Sure, there were scenes in Ant-Man and the Wasp 2 that were cool, where like making the buildings into these tiny things, and like that's some of the things we miss in this movie. We're actually using those discs to like turn things big and small. Sure, was referenced here and there with like turning some of these minions into small beings and big beings, but I don't know. Anyways, that's my review of Quantumania. Like, you should not go into this movie thinking it's gonna be like Avengers Quantumania. You should go into it thinking Ant-Man Quantumania, because Ant-Man is not really a series of movies that are groundbreaking in the MCU. They're enjoyable. They're the only PG movies in the MCU. I think this one's the first Ant-Man movie to be M, because you see these the field of probabilities. You see like versions of Scott dying, and it's pretty bloody, not gonna lie. And you see that fight at the end is fucking amazing. Honest to God, do you honestly think Scott's going to die? And like, it probably would have been cool if the movie like ended on that note where it like the quantum realm were to have like exploded with both Scott and that version of Kang falling down and exploding. That would have been cool to see, because like, is he dead or not? Blah blah blah, and like sure, the ending of the movie at least it could have been Hope and Cassie just looking and seeing this explosion, blah blah blah, thinking Scott's dead. But like with Endgame, Scott would return at the beginning of Kang Dynasty. You know, I honestly think the leading two heroes in Kang Dynasty is definitely going to be Spider-Man and Ant-Man. It has to be, you know. But then again, Thor wasn't a really leading man in the first Avengers, even though Loki was his villain. But then again, Kang isn't really an Ant-Man villain. He's just still an Avengers villain. But I think the first Avengers movie is the only good MCU movie that has all pre-existing MCU characters do well, you know? Like, because every single character we see besides the Chitauri and the other and Thanos at the end, we've seen in prior MCU movies, besides Maria Hill. That didn't work with Multiverse of Madness. That did not work. Just having Wanda, you know, as the bad guy didn't work. But I think Kang being a villain for the next couple of movies would work. And I don't think we'll see Kang until Kang Dynasty. And honest to God, I honestly think Kang Dynasty is going to end with the Kang from Secret Wars destroying the Kang Dynasty for that one Kang to reign supreme. Because like, having multiple Kangs is terrifying, but having one powerful Kang is more terrifying. But yeah, that is me on Quantumania.
Did you know one of the Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania sets was literal doo-doo? Like, I'm not joking. Literal doo-doo, literal crap, literal, you know. So during the press junket for Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, the cast revealed that they wanted to add dirt into one of the sets to make it feel like they're walking on a whole new planet. And I mean, it makes sense. The Quantum Realm is its like own secret universe. And before I keep going, I just want to say I like how Marvel's trying to do more practical stuff nowadays, where they literally film underwater for forever this dirt thing. But this one's kind of hilarious. The thing is, Marvel found a very cheap deal on dirt, and the reason it was very cheap is because that dirt was mixed with manure.
The people who were supposed to deliver the dirt accidentally delivered dirt with manure in it.
Yeah, it was manure. Yeah.
It's like, okay, everybody, we're gonna. Oh my god, and the smell.
We had hundreds of people standing on count.
I can only imagine how bad it truly smelled at Marvel Studios. Did you know?
Yeah, I didn't really like Cassie, but it's fine. Yeah, let's get into the game. Play for the next maybe hour and a half, 2 hours. See where I'm at. Because I don't need to watch a movie tonight, but I want to watch Arrowverse shit, and that itself is less than 2 hours to do. There's two 40-minute episodes, which, if you do the math, is only 80 minutes. Well, technically 84 minutes. But, yeah. Never hunger, never prosper, I fall in prey to failure. Oh shit, you can't hear it either. Oh, that's why. Wait, is that why? Oh no, that's not why. It's why because it's crashed. That's the reason why you can't hear it. It's crashed. Oh, not really crashed, it froze.